Singapore Changi Airport. ATC information India. Time 1406 Zulu. Wind 180 at 4. Visibility 21. Temperature 28. Dew point 24. QNH 1009. Remarks. No pattern work. No light aircraft accepted at this time. Landing runway 20 right. Expect ILS approach. Departing runway 20 center. Recommended departure procedures. ADMI 3B. Emit 7B. NASV 4B. TOMA 4B. VMR 8B. Recommended arrival procedures. ALAM 1B. LR 1B. NABA 2B. OBDO 1B. REPO 1B. SERV 1B. Advise on initial contact. You have information India. Singapore 636. Pushback approved. Tail to the north. Singapore Changi ground. Singapore 52. Ready to taxi to runway 20 right with information India. Singapore 631, please expedite. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 631, request taxi to A3 at the other terminals. Singapore 631, continue taxi. Singapore 631, continue taxi. Continue taxi, Singapore 631. KLM 642, request frequency change. Air India 359 India November, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. KLM 642, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6.
Taxi into runway 20 center via Air India 359 India November.
Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, KLM.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, ready for pushback with information India.
Singapore Changi ground, ready for pushback with information India, requesting runway 20 center. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 423 Super, request taxi to B8 at the other terminals. Singapore Changi ground, Philippines 393, ready for pushback with information India. Philippines 393. Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north. Taxiing to B8 via Whiskey, Singapore 423 Super.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Holding position. Taxi to parking. Sri Lankan 308, taxi to parking, at your discretion. Taxi to parking, Sri Lankan 308. Jeju Air 2622, you're on an active airport, please contact Singapore Changi ground on 124.3. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 423 Super, request taxi to C1 at the other terminals. Singapore Changi ground, November 54897, ready for pushback with information India. Singapore 423 Super, taxi to C1 via. Singapore Changi ground, Philippines 393, ready to taxi to runway 20 center with information India. Taxiing to C1 via, Singapore 423 Super.
Singapore Changi ground, CG 360, ready for pushback with information India, requesting runway 20 center.
Philippines 393, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 20 center via, Philippines 393. November 54897, hold position. Jeju Air 2622, taxi to Waypoint via. Taxiing to Waypoint via, Jeju Air 2622. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 24, ready to taxi with information India. Singapore Changi ground, Emirates 1, ready for pushback with information India. Singapore 24, runway 20 center, taxi via Victor 10, contact tower when ready. Singapore Changi ground, ready for pushback with information India, requesting runway 20 center. Singapore Changi ground, Delta 88, ready for pushback with information India.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 830 flight of 2, ready for pushback.
Taxiing to runway 20 center via Victor, Singapore 326. Singapore 830 flight of 3. Pushback approved, tail to the south. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 116, ready for pushback with information Juliet.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 38 heavy, ready for pushback with information India.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 627, ready for pushback with information Juliet, requesting runway 20 center.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, ready to taxi with information India.
Singapore 352, pushback approved, tail to the north. Singapore Changi ground, Delta 88, ready to taxi with information India.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Singapore 352. Singapore Changi ground, ready for pushback with information India.
Singapore 627, pushback approved, tail to the south.
Pushback approved, tail to the south, Singapore 627.
Pushback approved. Singapore Changi ground, Lima Zulu Sierra Oscar Foxtrot, request taxi to A17 at the other terminals.
Singapore Changi ground, November 54897, ready for pushback with information Juliet, requesting runway 2 left.
November 54897, pushback approved.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 830 flight of 3, ready to taxi.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Singapore 638. Delta 88, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Air India 405, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Singapore Changi ground, Emirates 1, ready to taxi with information India. Emirates 1, taxi to waypoint via. Taxiing to waypoint via, Emirates 1.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 227 heavy, ready for pushback with information India.
Taxiing to runway 20 center via, Air India 405. Singapore Changi ground, Air India 1818, ready for pushback with information India.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 38 heavy, ready for pushback with information India. Taxiing to runway 20 center via Victor, Fiji 360.
Singapore 38 heavy, hold position.
Taxiing to runway 20 center via, Singapore 830 flight of 3. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 352, ready to taxi with information India.
Singapore Changi ground, Silk Air 664, ready to taxi to runway 20.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, ready to taxi with information India.
November 54897, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 20 center via, November 54897.
Singapore 627, runway 20 center, taxi via Victor, contact tower when ready. Singapore 116, runway 20 center, taxi via Victor, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 20 center via Victor, Singapore 627.
Taxiing to runway 20 center via Victor, Singapore 116. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 945 heavy, request taxi to E4 at the other terminals. Singapore Changi ground, Aeromexico 623 Super, ready for pushback with information Juliet.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 4.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, ready to taxi with information India.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 638, ready to taxi to runway 20 center with information Juliet. Silk Air 664, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 20 center via, Silk Air 664.
Singapore Changi ground, Japan Air 654 Victor Golf, ready for pushback with information Juliet.
Singapore 638, runway 20 center, taxi via contact 2 Sierra Quebec Heavy, runway 20 center, taxi via Victor, Victor 10, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 20 center via Victor. Victor 10, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Singapore Changi ground, Aeromexico 623 Super, ready for... Attention all aircraft, please stand by, controller changes in progress. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 23 Sierra Quebec, request taxi to B8 at the other terminals.
Singapore Changi traffic. Singapore 125 is on final, runway 20 right.
Singapore Changi traffic, Malaysian 001 Mike Hotel is on final, runway 20 right.
Singapore Changi traffic. Qantas 2 Super is taking off.
Singapore Changi Tower, Malaysian 001 Mike Hotel, inbound on the ILS runway 20 right. Singapore 23 Heavy, request frequency change. Singapore Changi Tower, Emirates 1, ready for departure in sequence at runway 20 center, departing straight out. Malaysian 001 Mike Hotel, wind 180 at 6, number 1, runway 20 right, cleared to land. Number 1, cleared to land, runway 20 right, Malaysian 001 Mike Hotel. Singapore 23 Heavy, contact Singapore Changi traffic on 122.8. Air India 405, you're in an active airspace, please contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Emirates 1, hold short of runway 20 center. Singapore Changi Tower, 9 Victor Alpha Tango Kilo Heavy, ready for departure in sequence at runway 20 center, departing north. Holding short runway 20 center, Emirates 1. Qantas 2 Super, wind 180 at 6, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 20 center, Qantas 2 Super.
Holding short runway 20 center, 9 Victor Alpha Tango Kilo Heavy. Stand by, Air India 405. Qantas 2 Super, wind 180 at 6, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff. Air India 405, line up and wait runway 20 center.
Holding short runway 20 center, Singapore 666 Tango Kilo Heavy. Singapore 125, request frequency change.
Singapore 125, contact Singapore Changi traffic on 122.8.
Contacting Singapore Changi traffic on 122.8, Singapore 125.
Air India 405, wind 180 at 6, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff. Singapore Changi Tower, Malaysian 009 Mike Hotel, inbound on the ILS runway 20 right. Air India 405, please follow instructions. Singapore Changi Tower, Turkish 777 Victor Alpha Heavy is 12 nautical miles to the northeast at 3,700 feet, inbound for landing. Malaysian 009 Mike Hotel, wind 180 at 6, number 1, runway 20 right, cleared to land.
Contacting Singapore radar on 123.7, Qantas 2 Super.
Number 2, cleared to land, runway 20 right, Turkish 777 Victor Alpha Heavy. Singapore 666 Tango Kilo Heavy, line up and wait runway 20 center.
Line up and wait runway 20 center, Singapore 666 Tango Kilo Heavy.
Malaysian 001 Mike Hotel, I'm sorry. Thank you, good day, Malaysian 001 Mike Hotel. Malaysian 001 Mike Hotel. Contact Singapore Changi ground on 124.3. Air India 405, you're in an active airspace. Please contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Contacting Singapore Changi ground. Thank you, good day, Malaysian 001 Mike Hotel. Air India 405, you're in an active airspace. Please contact Singapore.
Thank you, Singapore 830 flight of 3. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 830 flight of 3, ready to taxi to runway 20 center.
Alpha 7 Alpha Bravo Charlie Heavy, pushback approved. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 231 Super, ready for pushback. Singapore 830 flight of 3, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Pushback approved, Alpha 7 Alpha Bravo Charlie Heavy. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 227 Heavy, ready to taxi with information India.
Taxiing to runway 20 center via Singapore 830 flight of 3.
Singapore Changi ground, Lufthansa 513 Victor Alpha Heavy, ready for pushback with information Juliet. Korean Air 208 Kilo Echo, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Delta 88, you're on an active airport, please contact Singapore Changi ground on 124.3. Singapore Changi ground, Air India 1818, ready to taxi with information India. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 1280 Heavy, ready to taxi to runway 20 center with information India. Singapore Changi ground, Fiji 360 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Juliet.
Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 424 Super, ready to taxi with information Juliet. Thank you, good day, Air India 359 India November.
Speedbird 16 Bravo Alpha Heavy, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Fiji 360 Heavy, pushback approved, tail to the south. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 227 Heavy, ready to taxi with information India. Stand by. Delta 88, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Singapore Changi ground, you are not cleared to enter the runway, please exit the runway. Singapore Changi ground, Japan Air 015 India Golf, ready to taxi with information Kilo. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 488, ready to taxi with information Kilo. Longship 122, runway 20 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 20 center via Victor, Singapore 2. Lion 152, wind 180 at 5, number 2, runway 20 right, cleared to land.
Singapore Changi Tower, Korean Air 144, ready for departure at runway 20 center, departing straight out.
Contacting Singapore radar on 123.7, Singapore 638. Holding short runway 20 center, Singapore 12.
Singapore Changi Tower, Singapore 22 India November, ready for departure at runway 20 center, departing south.
Singapore 845, wind 180 at 5, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff. Korean Air 144, line up and wait runway 20 center. Singapore 22 India November, hold short of runway 20 center. Cleared for takeoff, runway 20 center, Singapore 845.
Singapore Changi Tower, Singapore 352, ready for departure in sequence at runway 20 center, departing north.
Singapore 352, hold short of runway 20 center. Qantas 2 Super, wind 180 at 5, number 2, runway 20 right, cleared to land. Singapore 185 Heavy, when able turn left and contact ground, please expedite, traffic on final. Korean Air 144, wind 180 at 5, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff. Contacting Singapore radar on 123.7, Singapore 845. Singapore 352, line up and wait runway 20 center.
Line up and wait runway 20 center, Singapore 352.
Longship 122, hold short of runway 20 center. Singapore Changi Tower, Air India 1818, ready for departure in sequence at runway 20 center, departing west. Holding short runway 20 center, Longship 122. Air India 1818, hold short of runway 20 center. Singapore 352, wind 180 at 5, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff. Singapore 22 India November, line up and wait runway 20 center. Singapore Changi Tower, Singapore 12 Heavy, ready for departure in sequence at runway 20 center, departing east. Korean Air 144, contact Singapore radar on 123.7.
Holding short runway 20 center, Fiji 360.
Lion 152, when able turn left and contact ground, please expedite. Singapore 22 India November, wind 180 at 5, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff.
Singapore Changi Tower, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, ready for departure at runway 20 center, departing north.
Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, hold short of runway 20 center.
Holding short runway 20 center, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Longship 122, wind 180 at 5, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff. Cleared for takeoff, runway 20 center, Longship 122. Singapore 22 India November, contact Singapore radar. Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, line up and wait runway 20 center.
Line up and wait runway 20 center, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Qantas 2 Super, when able turn left and contact ground, please expedite.
Wilco, Qantas 2 Super.
Singapore Changi Tower, Singapore 627, ready for departure at runway 20 center, departing east. Singapore 627, hold short of Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, wind 180 at 5, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff. Fiji 360, line up and wait runway 20 center.
Line up and wait runway 20 center, Fiji 360.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 20 center, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Contacting Singapore radar on 123.7, Longship 122.
Singapore Changi Tower, Qatari 944 Heavy, inbound on the ILS runway 20 right.
Qatari 944 Heavy, wind 180 at 5, number 3, runway 20 right, cleared to land.
Number 3, cleared to land, runway 20 right, Qatari 944 Heavy.
Cathay 759, say intentions. Singapore Changi Tower, Cathay 759, inbound on the ILS runway 20 right. Cathay 759, wind 180 at 5, number 2, runway 20 right, cleared to land. Number 2, cleared to land, runway 20 right, Cathay 759. Fiji 360, wind 180 at 5, runway 20 center, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff. Runway 20 center, Fiji 360.
Singapore 325 Super, when able turn left and contact ground.
638, frequency change approved, good day. Singapore 392 Heavy, frequency change approved, good day.
Singapore radar, Singapore 12, with you at 2100.
Frequency change approved Singapore 392 Heavy, good day.
Frequency change approved Singapore 638, good day.
Singapore 12, radar contact. Frequency change approved Singapore 352, good day.
Singapore 12 is 4 nautical miles southwest of Changi Air at 2,600 feet, requesting flight following to Narita International.
Singapore 12, flight following request not required after check-in. Singapore 32 India November, thank you, good day.
Singapore radar, Air India 1818, with you at 1500. I'm sorry, Singapore 12.
Thank you, good day, Singapore 22 India November.
Singapore 32 India November, frequency change approved, good day.
Singapore radar, Singapore 627, with you at 1000.
Singapore 627, radar contact.
Longship 122, request frequency change.
Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, thank you, good. Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, frequency change approved, good day.
Frequency change approved Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, good day.
Singapore 227 Heavy, radar contact. climb to flight level 370. Singapore 302 Romeo Alpha, contact Manchester approach on 135.0. Contacting Manchester approach on 135.0, Singapore 302 Romeo Alpha. Ryanair 79 Oscar, climb and maintain flight level 370. Climb and maintain flight level 370, Ryanair 79 Oscar. Emirates 21 Super, turn left heading 200.
Turn left heading 200, Emirates 21 Super.
London Centre, Flyer 38 Hotel, with you at 22,000. London Centre, Qatari 402 India Golf, with you at 1600. Qatari 402 India Golf, radar contact. Qatari 402 India Golf, climb and maintain 4000. Climb and maintain 4000, Qatari 402 India Golf. Jersey to Super Pass, turn right heading 290.
Turn right heading 290, Jersey 22 Papa.
Flyer 38 Hotel, radar contact. Europa 887 is 12 nautical miles southwest of Collaston at 7,300 feet, requesting radar vectors to Palma de Mallorca.
Ryanair 195, requesting climb to flight level 310.
Emirates 21 Super, contact Manchester approach on 135.0. Ryanair 195, climb and maintain flight level 310.
Contacting Manchester approach on 135.0, Emirates 21 Super.
Jersey to Super Pass, continuous filed.
Continuous filed, Jersey 22 Papa. London Centre, Delta 923, with you at 28,000.
London Centre, Air India 2610, with you at 32,000.
Jersey to Super Pass, contact Manchester approach on 135.0.
Contacting Manchester approach on 135.0, Jersey 22 Papa.
Europa 887, turn right heading 170. Turn right heading 170, Europa 887. Line 123 Sugo 4 nautical miles southeast of Chorley at 40,000 feet, requesting ILS approach runway 23 right at Manchester. Delta Romeo India Sierra Charlie, descend and maintain 8,000.
Finnair 1 Mike Charlie, requesting climb to flight level 370.
Descend and maintain 8,000, Delta Romeo India Sierra Charlie. Line 123 Super, continuous filed, expect the ILS approach runway 23 right at Manchester.
Climb and maintain flight level 370, Finnair 1 Mike Charlie.
Roger, Line 123 Super. London Centre, China Eastern 2613 Heavy, with you at 36,000. China Eastern 2613 Heavy, radar contact. Tomjet 2 Echo Golf Heavy, maintain 4,000.
Maintain 4,000, Tomjet 2 Echo Golf Heavy.
Flyer 415 India Golf, altitude at your discretion. Europa 887, continuous filed. Continuous filed, Europa 887. Red 9603 Alpha Romeo, proceed on course to Palma de Mallorca. Turn left heading 110 and hold over East Midlands Airport at 11,000, right turn, Wilco, Saudia 302. London Centre, Aeroflot 1936, with you at 34,000. Attention all aircraft, London Centre is now closed, good day.
Manchester Direct, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, with you at 21,500.
Etihad 77 Heavy, expect vectors for the ILS approach runway 23 right at Manchester. Etihad 77 Heavy, turn right heading 230, climb and maintain 10,000. Ryanair 3469, do not exceed 200 knots.
Turn left heading 140, Air Canada 908.
Turn right heading 230, climb and maintain 10,000, Etihad 77 Heavy.
Do not exceed 200 knots, Ryanair 3469.
Papa Lima Uniform Delta Super, turn left heading 280, descend and maintain 7,000. Changi 028 Golf Lima, frequency change approved, good day. Ryanair 3469, turn left heading 260, descend and maintain 3,500, maintain 3,500 until established on the localizer, clear up. Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, expect vectors for the ILS approach runway 23 right at Manchester.
Roger, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Delta Romeo India Sierra Charlie, requesting to divert to London Heathrow. Qatari 159 Victor Alpha Heavy, turn right heading 010, descend and maintain 9,000.
Turn right heading 010, descend and maintain 9,000, Qatari 159 Victor Alpha Heavy.
Delta Romeo India Sierra Charlie, diversion approved, proceed on course to London Heathrow. Singapore 302 Romeo Alpha, maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final. Turn right heading 040, paying 753 Heavy.
Turn left heading 230, Tango Yankee Lima Echo Romeo.
Changi 790 Tango Kilo, turn left heading 130. Giant 52 Heavy, turn right heading 050. Papa Lima Uniform Delta Super, turn right heading 040.
Turn left heading 220, Tango Yankee Lima Echo Romeo.
Ryanair 3469, please follow instructions or you will be reported. Victor Tango Alpha Bravo Charlie, turn left heading 020, descend and maintain 6,000.
Air India 2610 is 7 nautical miles southwest of Humberside at 13,200 feet, requesting ILS approach any runway at Manchester.
Turn left heading 310, descend and maintain 3,500, Tomjet 403.
Starlux 2313, turn left heading 300. Air India 2610, expect vectors for the ILS approach runway 23 right at Manchester.
Roger, Air India 2610.
Singapore 170, turn right heading 060.
Turn right heading 060, Singapore 170. Roger, Papa Lima Uniform Delta Super.
Qatari 159 Victor Alpha Heavy, turn left heading 310.
Turn left heading 310, Qatari 159 Victor Alpha Heavy.
Tomjet 403, turn left heading 250, descend and maintain 4,000, maintain 4,000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 23 right approach. Air India 2610, expect vectors for the ILS approach runway 23 right at Manchester. Hanging 753 Heavy, turn right heading 050.
Turn left heading 250, Seabird 617. Turn right heading 340, Starlux 2313.
United 2135, turn right heading 060.
Turn right heading 060, United 2135. Turn right heading 350, Victor Tango Alpha Bravo Charlie. Turn right heading 050, Tango Yankee Lima Echo Romeo. Contacting Manchester Tower on 119.4, Ryanair 3469.
Singapore 170, turn left heading 050. Be line 123 Super, you're in an active airspace, please contact Manchester Direct on 121.35. Air Canada 908, turn left heading 040. Starlux 2313, turn right heading 040. Changi 753 Heavy, turn left heading 250, maintain 5000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 23 right approach. Turn left heading 250, maintain 5000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 23 right, Hayman 753 Heavy.
Turn left heading 300, Singapore 170. Roger, Air France 1068. Turn left heading 260, descend and maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 23 right, Singapore 170.
Etihad 77 Heavy, turn left heading 130.
Turn left heading 130, Etihad 77 Heavy.
Air Canada 908, turn left heading 340.
Turn right heading 020, Victor Tango Alpha Bravo Charlie.
Aeroflot 1936, expect sector to the ILS approach runway 23 right at Manchester.
Manchester Direct, Changi 2 Kilo, with you at 2200.
Changi 2 Kilo, frequency change approved, good day.
Turn left heading 040, United 2135. Turn left heading 310, Papa Lima Uniform Delta Super.
2,500. $2,500.
Manchester Tower, Tonjet 7492, ready for departure in sequence at runway 23 left, departing south. Wilco, Singapore 170. Singapore 170, request frequency change.
Manchester Tower, Saudia 302 is 10 nautical miles to the southeast of 9,000 feet, inbound for landing with information Bravo.
Manchester Tower, Air France 1068 is 12 nautical miles to the southeast at 6,400 feet, inbound for landing, requesting runway 23 right.
Singapore 170, contact Manchester ground on 121.85.
Contacting Manchester ground on 121.85, Singapore 170. Manchester Tower, Air Canada 908, inbound on the ILS runway 23 right. Manchester Tower, Giant 1213 is 18 nautical miles to the southeast at 9,500 feet, inbound for landing. Manchester Tower, Ryanair 6839 is 16 nautical miles to the east at 10,200 feet, inbound for landing.
Tomjay 7492, 1310 at Nina, runway 23 left, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 23 left, Tomjet 7492.
Saudia 302, extend downwind, I'll call your base. Manchester Tower, Speedbird 132, ready for departure at runway 23 left, departing south.
Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, you're in an active airspace. Please contact Manchester Tower on 119 point. Etihad 77 Heavy, wind 31. Singapore 30.
Number 4, cleared to land, runway 23 right, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Number 6, cleared to land, runway 23 right, Etihad 77 Heavy.
Papa Lima Uniform Delta Super, frequency change approved, good day. Tomjet 7492.
Mr. Tango India Mike Juliet, request permission to cross runway 23 right.
Speedbird 132, wind 310 at Niner, runway 23 left, cleared for takeoff.
Changi 532, request permission to cross runway 23 right.
Line up and wave runway 23 left, Ryanair 002 Foxtrot Romeo.
Manchester Tower, Air France 1068 is 15 nautical miles to the east at 3,800 feet, inbound for landing with Information Hotel, requesting runway 23 right.
Manchester Tower, Air India 2610 is 19 nautical miles to the northeast at 7,400 feet, inbound for landing with Information Ball.
Manchester Tower, Ryanair 6839, inbound on the ILS runway 23 right.
Tango Yankee Lima Echo Romeo, when able turn right and contact ground, please expedite, traffic on final.
Number 6, cleared to land, runway 23 right, Ryanair 6839.
Air India 2610, enter straight in runway 23 right, number 7, traffic to follow is on left base. Number 7, cleared to land, runway 23 right, Air India 2610. Changi 790 Tango Kilo, maintain 160 knots until 4-mile final.
Maintain 160 knots until 4-mile final, Changi 790 Tango Kilo.
Manchester Tower, Changi 226 Alpha, ready for departure at runway 23 left, departing south.
Speedbird 132, frequency change approved, good day.
Frequency change approved, Speedbird 132, good day.
Air India 2610, contact Manchester direct on 121.35. Saudia 302, contact Manchester direct on 121.35. Changi 1720, contact Manchester direct on 121.35.
Contacting Manchester direct on 121.35, Qatari 159 Victor Alpha Heavy. Wilco, Air Canada 908.
Lufthansa 18, cross runway 23 right, please expedite.
Crossing runway 23 right, Lufthansa 18.
Changi 868, hold position. Changi 868, disregard last message. Changi 868, cross runway 23 right, please expedite. Philippines 402 Victor Alpha Heavy, cross runway 23 right, please expedite.
400,
Crossing runway 23 right, Changi 868.
300,
Wilco, Giant 52 Heavy.
200,
Crossing runway 23 right, Philippines 402 Victor Alpha Heavy.
100,
Maintain best forward speed, Etihad 77 Heavy.
40, 30, 20,
Ryanair 002 Foxtrot Romeo, wind 310 at Niner, runway 23 left, cleared for takeoff. Changi 226 Alpha, line up and wait runway 23 left.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 23 left, Ryanair 002 Foxtrot Romeo.
Changi 868, hold position. Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, when able turn right and contact ground, please expedite, traffic on final.
Wilco, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Manchester Tower, Saudia 302, inbound on the ILS run.
Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy. Contact Manchester ground on 121.85. Changi 790 Tango Keep.
Contacting Manchester ground on 121.85, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Saudia 302, wind 310 at Nina, number 3, runway 23 right, cleared to land.
Singapore 302 Romeo Alpha, hold position. Holding position, Singapore 302 Romeo Alpha. Giant 52 Heavy, taxi to Western Apron Cargo 68 via Bravo, Delta, Echo.
Manchester ground, Changi 925, ready for pushback with information Bravo, requesting runway 23 left.
Taxiing to Western Apron Cargo 68 via Bravo, Delta, Echo, Giant 52 Heavy.
Manchester ground, Changi 177 Romeo, ready for pushback with information Hotel, requesting runway 23 left.
All Nippon 7024 Heavy, hold position.
Holding position, all Nippon 7024 Heavy.
Changi 177 Romeo, hold position.
Manchester ground, Skyroad 353, ready for pushback with information Hotel, requesting runway 23 left.
Manchester ground, Express India 000, ready for pushback with information Hotel. Express India 000, hold position.
Manchester ground, Shamrock 606, ready to taxi to runway 23 left with information Foxtrot.
Manchester ground, Changi 753 Heavy, request taxi to 204 at the Terminal 2. Shamrock 606, taxi to runway 23 left, hold short of 5 left 23 right. Changi 753 Heavy, taxi to Terminal 2204 via Delta, Echo, November Charlie.
Taxiing to runway 23 left, will hold short of 5 left 23 right, Shamrock 606.
Taxiing to Terminal 2204 via Delta, Echo, November Charlie, Changi 753 Heavy.
Manchester ground, Redcap 001 Charlie Romeo, ready for pushback with information Hotel, requesting runway 23 left. Manchester ground, Changi 2441, ready for pushback with information Hotel.
Singapore 302 Romeo Alpha, continue taxi. Redcat 001 Charlie Romeo, pushback approved, tail to the north.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Red.
Changi 2441, hold position.
Holding position, Changi 2441.
Singapore 301, request permission to cross runway 23 right. Singapore 301, contact Manchester.
Manchester ground, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, request taxi to the Terminal 2.
Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, taxi to parking, at your discretion.
Taxi to parking, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Holding position, JetBlue 923. Manchester ground, Ryanair 6839, request taxi to 31 at the Terminal 1.
Bravo 5977, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Bravo 5977.
Manchester ground, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, request taxi to 104 at the Terminal 2.
Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, taxi to Terminal 2104 via Alpha, Delta, Echo, November Charlie.
Manchester ground, Bravo 5977, ready to
Taxiing to Terminal 2104 via Alpha, Delta, Echo, November Charlie, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Manchester ground, red cap 001 Charlie Romeo, ready to taxi to runway 23 left with information hotel. Taxiing to Terminal 131 via Alpha, Delta, Echo, Ryanair 6839.
Skyworld 353, request permission to cross runway 23 right.
Skyworld 353, contact Manchester Tower on 119.4. Red Cat 001 Charlie Romeo, taxi to runway 23 left, hold short of 5 left 23 right.
Taxiing to runway 23 left, will hold short of 5 left 23 right, red cap 001 Charlie Romeo.
EC2021, pushback approved.
Manchester ground, Express India view.
Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy, taxi to Terminal 2104 via Delta, Echo, November Alpha.
Taxiing to Terminal 2104 via Delta, Echo, November Alpha, Singapore 302 Sierra Quebec Heavy.
Taxi to parking, Saudia 302. Lufthansa 940, taxi to Terminal 101 via Bravo, Juliet Echo.
Manchester ground, Changi 22 Hotel, ready for pushback.
Taxiing to Terminal 101 via Bravo, Juliet Echo, Lufthansa 940. Thank you, good day, Singapore 302 Romeo Alpha. Bravo 5977, contact Manchester Tower on 119.4.
Contacting Manchester Tower on 119.4, Bravo 5977.
Virgin 85 Heavy, pushback approved. Pushback approved, Virgin 85 Heavy. Lufthansa 940, taxi to Terminal 101 via Bravo, Juliet Foxtrot. Taxiing to Terminal 101 via Bravo, Juliet Foxtrot, Lufthansa 940.
Manchester ground, Changi 005 Victor November, ready for pushback with information golf. Manchester ground, Changi 177 Romeo, ready for pushback with information hotel, requesting runway 23 left.
Holding position, Changi 002 Victor November. Changi 002 Victor November, correction, standby. Pushback approved, Changi 002 Victor November. Changi 317 Victor November, correction, standby.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Changi 317 Victor November.